God bless you. Good morning. Once again, everyone. For everyone here, we're happy to have you back with us on MIP on 89.3, WPFW FM in Pacifica, but we're streaming all over the country. I'm joining you from Chicago today, and all I will say at this time is please keep the Reverend Jesse Jackson in prayer. People are looking for news and stuff to say. Sometimes, as Black folk, all we need to say is pray. And that's what we're asking for Reverend Jackson. Only the good Lord knows what will happen today, tomorrow, or the next day. And so we pray for him, and we ask you all to pray for him. Please, ma'am, please, sir, as well. And appropriately, being in Chicago, when with Reverend Jackson on our mind, I think it's important to deal with a bit of history today, in the sense that we now have the first elected president-elect, international president-elect of North America's largest industrial union. That's the United Steel Workers. And joining us, she doesn't take office until March, but we're all hailing her and congratulating her as president-elect. We're happy to have with us Roxanne D. Brown, Madam President-elect, Madam International President-elect. How are you today?
I am doing wonderful, Reverend Mark. Thank you so much for having me on your show today, and just thank you for those incredibly kind words. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's meaningful that you're in that position. I know you were vice president, but talk to us about, because we'll get into this. We've got a number
Hmm.
of African American presidents of major unions, and we'll
That's
talk
right.
about how that came to be over time. But first of all, let's talk about you. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got into the steelworking industry.
Sure. I appreciate that question. So I actually am originally from Kingston, Jamaica,
Ah,
from a little town called Harborview, and my family moved to the United States, New York in particular, when I was 2 years old, and grew up in New York. Left, and I was raised by, we like to say, my husband likes to call us the Amazons, a family of single women, really, who were in healthcare and in dietary aids. And so my exposure to unions was the nurses union and AFSCME with CSEA in New York. And I left and went to college at Howard University.
yes, ma'am.
um, Ran out of money, had to find a job. My then boyfriend, now husband, gave me a card to a temp agency, which sent me to Steelworkers Policy Office in Washington, D.C. the next day. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Wow, that's
Hmm.
that's amazing, and what a story. HU.
Hmm. You know,
Right. There we go. There we go.
the
There we go.
water.
So how many years have you been with the Steelworkers?
So in February 1st, will be my 27th year with the
Wow, wow.
Steelworkers. Yeah, it flew by.
So I have to ask this because when we think about steelworkers and industrial unions, oftentimes women don't get enough acknowledgement and enough credit. What was it like? What were some of the challenges you and other women have had to overcome in a union like the steelworkers?
I think when people think about our union, there's an image that comes to mind that does not look like me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of it's short-sighted, because really we are the most diverse union in North America in terms of our sectors, right? We like to say we're cradle to grave, and we have everything in between, right? We're so diverse in terms of our sectors. But the diversity of our sectors also lends to the diversity of our membership. So
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of steelworkers that do look like me. We have 50,000 members in healthcare, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them, like me, are immigrant Black women. We have steelworkers in the steel sector, right, who are also Black and Latino, and so we're a very diverse union. But yeah, on the whole, we're largely white men.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, you know, without question, I've had challenges being a young Black woman in certain spaces in our union, walking into certain rooms where, people may assume that I don't come with expertise or knowledge or chops because of where I'm coming from. But I relish in challenging that notion. I enjoy
Right.
it.
Yeah. No, so I mean, that has to be a big deal for a union of majority white men to
Yeah,
elect a black woman.
yeah, yeah. It is. It is. It is a big deal. And again, I think it's because, listen, I cut my teeth in this union, in our policy shop, our policy and legislative shop, and I had to learn about our core issues and our core values and fight. I literally spent my entire career fighting on behalf of our members across so many sectors, and having the opportunity to fight with them, for them, but then also with them when they came to DC and were with me on Capitol Hill or with me in a meeting with the administration and testifying before Congress or testifying before the International Trade Commission. So they've seen me fighting for them and with them. And so I think it's just a respect. They know what I come with, they know how I fight, they know that I'll fight for them. And so I think it was natural to support me because they know me.
So, what are some of the issues right
Hmm.
now that the steelworkers find themselves facing, especially in this moment of Donald Trump?
Uh, uncertainty,
Mm,
uncertainty.
mm, mm,
That that's kind of the word of the moment right now is uncertainty. We're largely a manufacturing union, right? So our members are in every sector of the manufacturing economy that you can think of. Quite literally, our members make everything. We're the
mm.
largest union in the refining sector: steel, paper, rubber, chemicals, cement, the list, glass, mining in terms of critical minerals and materials and iron ore. We're the dominant union in all those sectors. And every single one of those sectors is experiencing uncertainty right now because of the economic environment that we're in right now with this current administration. I'll give you an example of trade policy. Our union has had to use trade policy because of who we are and who our sectors are. And by that, I mean tariffs. So we've spent the last 40 years actually using tariff policy, strategic, targeted tariffs against bad actors to make sure that we stabilize our industries, bring back capacity that's been lost to unfair trade, bring back or stabilize jobs that have been lost to unfair trade. That's been our bread and butter. That's how we've protected our industries, kept them as strong as possible. This current environment of tariffs that are, Reverend Mark, you made me angry today. You're you're Argentina, you're, Canada. I'm going to hit you with 100% tariffs is not strategic, and it's not the way to use a tool that our members and our union really rely on for survival. And so because of that, it's created so much uncertainty, not just in terms of our sectors, but uncertainty about our ability to use that tool that we've relied on for decades into the future, right?
Yeah.
So it's complicated. I can go on and on and on. So I'm gonna pause because there's so
Well,
many.
no, 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 'cause we want to deal with all that, Madam President. So tell me a bit about the tariff
Mhm,
situation
mhm.
and what that actually does to you all and as members.
You know, um, so our members, the products they make, a lot of them rely on inputs, right?
Right.
And a lot of those inputs come from elsewhere, right? From overseas. So you're creating pressures, cost pressures on the inputs of the components that need to go into some of the products that our members make, which then raises the cost of the products that our members are making, right? Um, the tariffs against Canada, we are an international union, as you mentioned at the beginning. So we have members in the United States, Canada, and the Caribbean. Our members in Canada also make steel. They also make aluminum, right? And these other, key components. And they're our closest trading partner. And we've enjoyed that relationship for decades. Now, our members' jobs in Canada are at great risk because of these significant tariffs on their products. And their companies cannot compete in the global marketplace with these significantly inflated costs on their products. So that means job loss for steelworkers there. It means uncertainty for steelworkers in the United States as the products that they're making, the cost of those products go up. That's uncertainty for their companies, and it creates economic pressures that it's untenable, And so for us, that uncertainty means loss of capacity potentially and loss of jobs across the United States and Canada. It's untenable. Oh, I think I lost you, Reverend Mark. I think you're on mute.
There you go. Thank you. It must be untenable.
It is.
Um, what what do you do about it, Madam President? You're coming in office.
Yeah.
Clearly he's completely out of control. There are no, as Sister Kamala said, there are no guardrails. Seemingly, there's even a court that's going to let him do. A Supreme Court is going to let him do whatever he wants to do. What? I mean, without giving too much away, what's USW's plan? What is it that you all think you can do to create some leverage to kind of turn this around and protect your workers?
You know, we the way that we have governed ourselves as a labor union, for now, over 90 years, is that we engage. We
Hmm.
engage at the local, state, and federal level because we are charged to do that on behalf of our membership. We don't care who's in office. We don't care
Right.
if you have a R, a D, an I, elemental, Q, P, whatever. We're going to engage because we're, we're obligated to do that. And so that's what we've been doing. We have been engaging this administration around a set of core issues, and one of those is economic, and really trying to lean into what's in the best economic interest of manufacturing workers and the manufacturing sector in this country. That is what we're consistently doing, and we're having these conversations across several levels of the administration. We're educating our membership because, listen, 2026 and 2028 are coming,
Hmm.
and we're educating our membership about who has their backs on the issues that are most important to them,
Hmm. Hmm.
who's ensuring the livelihood that they want right now and the livelihood that they want for their kids and grandkids into the future. And again, no R's, no D's. It is who has our backs, because
Right.
we support who supports us. That is where we stand. And right now in this environment, it's hard to say that it's the one that supports steelworker jobs. It's hard to say that it's one that supports workers, just working people to begin with. I mean, outside of the tariffs, one of the things that you know, I say often is today, today, November 17th, 2025, our members across all of their working places are less safe because of the rollbacks in worker health and safety standards and regulations and policies in this country than they were a year ago, November 17th, 2024, right? And so I can go down the line from healthcare to retirement security to domestic economic issues to trade to safety and health, all of these issues, and point to how this current environment is not supportive of what we fight for. And so that's the kind of education that we're doing with our membership. And just with the administration, we're really just trying to help them to understand the economic consequences of some of the things that they're doing.
No, that's very, very important. But, let's do this though. Roxanne Brown with us, folks of United Steelworkers. She is the newly elected president. She takes office in March. You mentioned some of the materials, but let's do this, Rox. I think it would be helpful. Talk to our audience about what USW workers do and what products they create
Hmm.
that some of us take for granted in our everyday everyday lives. Because I think
Mm,
again, it's misperceptions about gender, and
right.
everybody also thinks y'all just build buildings,
That's
uh,
right.
skyscrapers. You know what I mean. So and bridges, I guess. But but talk to us
Hmm.
about some of the things we use every day that your workers provide for us.
I love that question. It's one of my favorite questions, Reverend Mark, and I appreciate that. Like I said, we describe our union as cradle to grave because we
Mm,
represent 50,000 members in healthcare, including nurses who deliver babies, to grave diggers and casket makers. We represent the folks who make Baskerville coffins and caskets, right? And then
wow.
everything in between. So your Goodyear tires, your Bridgestone Firestone tires, your Michelin tires, your Libby glasses, your Starbucks cups. If you go to the bathroom and use hopefully wash your hands and you use paper towel, that paper towel was made by steel workers. Your Amazon boxes that come to your home, your wine bottles, your beer cans, your bourbon bottles, obviously your car. You think of the car that you drive in, the glass, the steel. Obviously, I already mentioned the tires, your phones, the glass on
Mm,
the front of your iPhones, your Androids, is this Gorilla Glass made by steelworkers. You use your phone and you use 5G, the fiber optic cables that are critical for that 5G system to work, made by steelworkers in Wilmington, North Carolina.
wow.
The oil that you use to power your vehicle, steelworkers. The cement that goes into our structural buildings, everything. So we don't build. Those are the building trades unions who erect the buildings and the bridges and such. We make all of the things that go into everything. We make all of the things that you use every single day. I'm drinking out of this water bottle.
Right,
Steel
right.
workers, paper, steel workers. You know, uh, Quite literally, everything,
Yeah,
lotion, medicine. Um, we represent a large amount of membership in pharmaceuticals who make the drugs that are used, some of the COVID drugs. Our members quite literally touch every single facet of the economy. We also represent school bus drivers. If you go to Vegas, you hop in a cab, it's a steel worker in a
yeah.
lot of cases. So we touch everywhere in terms of the US economy. You see how excited I was to answer that
Yeah,
question?
yeah. No, that's amazing. And folks, I hope y'all got that. There's nothing that they don't touch.
Right.
And so, somebody said, "What? Why do I care about a steel worker?" Well,
Hmm.
now you know.
Right.
From medicine to lotion
Yes,
to
that's
paper
right.
towels,
That's right.
I mean, these are things that steel workers produce. So that's something very, very important to understand. And it's likely that many of you listening and watching right now may know or have some interaction or have maybe 1 or 2 degrees only of separation between you and a steel worker
That's right.
themselves, because after all, this is the largest of the industrial unions,
That's
correct?
right. That's right. That is
How many
correct.
members? Is it a million? Just under a million?
850,000 in the US, Canada, and the Caribbean.
That's a whole lot of people.
Hmm. Hmm.
And let's go ahead and double that when we talk about families.
That's
And it's
right.
and it's more than that. 800 is 850,000 people all alone by themselves living alone.
That's right.
So these matters impact millions of people and families who
Hmm.
contribute to our everyday life and society. You may have touched on this, but I want to just go back over it in terms of what the tariffs are doing, in terms of what some of these policies are doing, in terms of the way it's affecting companies. Is that also affecting wages? And what impact does that have on collective bargaining agreements?
Oh,
Because if you're not making no money, if I'm not making no money to pay you because of tariffs and foolishness,
right.
then you got it right. So, well, hold up, Slick, we got a collective bargaining agreement. So that just
Hmm.
it creates a whole
Hmm.
nother level of tension, doesn't it?
Reverend Mark, you ask such good questions, and I can't tell you how much I'm serious. I can't tell you how much these are the real questions. These are the real conversations we need to be having right now, because this is what people need to understand, right?
That's it.
About the moment. So you're so locked in.
God bless
Yes.
you.
Yes. No, I mean it's
That's those of us who went to Howard, fellow HU alum. That's kind of, I think that's maybe a thing with us. I don't know. I
that's
don't know.
it.
Maybe that's
I don't know. It's the way we talk. Um, I go back to the uncertainty. You hit it on the head. If you are, you know, Reverend Mark Steel Company, and you are right now dealing with the economic pressures of the tariffs and the uncertainty of the tariffs, but you're about to go into bargaining with a company, with the union, right, in a couple of months. How are you coming to that table? Because you know how the union is coming to that table. We're coming to make sure that we get everything that our members deserve at that table. But you're coming like, oh, what am I? These are what my books are looking like. This is
right.
what I'm
Right.
not sure how I'm going to be looking in the next 2 years. So this environment of uncertainty is creating uncertainty at the
Hmm.
table. And next year, 2026 is a Herculean bargaining year for us. We
Really.
we start the year with oil bargaining, right? And I'll be at the table for oil bargaining in January. Then we go to bargaining aluminum, right? We go to paper, we go to tire, and then we end the summer into the fall with big steel bargaining. So that's some of our major industries as the steelworkers union. And
Yeah.
so we're going to go to tables, all these companies, tire and rubber in particular. That's a sector that's really having a hard time right now. And
Uh,
so it's the uncertainty is going to make it more challenging for us to do the work that we do at the bargaining table. It doesn't stop the work that we do. We're still going to show up because
right.
that's what we do and that's what we're
Yeah.
supposed to
Yeah.
do.
Right. Right.
But it doesn't make it makes it more challenging. It
Yeah.
just does. Yeah.
So glad we got you now. Now that you told me about 2026, you ain't gonna have time to talk to nobody in 2026.
It's going to be a busy year. It's
I
going
know.
to be
I know about these union presidents, y'all. When they negotiate, they ain't got to talk to no. That's real, and
that's it.
that's the real job, isn't it? Because
It
that's some,
is.
getting into those, the devils in those details.
That's right.
Um, yeah, that's so. But so let me ask you this then. I
Hmm.
wonder if there's any affinity or solidarity with management, because especially in Canada, we know most management don't like Trump either.
Right.
So
Right.
does that does that give you all some room to try to come to some more agreeable terms to work through this um, together? And I say this as a former building rep, so I follow
Mhm.
management all the time. But
Yeah.
so I'm clear on that. But does this because in many cases both sides are
Hmm.
troubled by him? How does that help you in terms of your negotiation and working things out?
I think it's variable.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
it depends on the industry that you're talking about, the company that you're talking about. When it comes to bargaining, it's every side for itself, right?
Mhm.
In most cases. And with these pressures, I think the companies are just trying to hold on to what they can hold on to, right? And I don't know that there's going to be a willingness to really expand and give workers what they deserve, even in these times.
Mhm. Mm.
And and the reality of the now, and it's always crazy when I say these words out of my mouth, because I never imagined as an immigrant, coming to the United States, that I would utter these words about the United States. But there's so much fear right now that is wrapped up into this current political environment, that even if companies are like hair on fire in this moment, they just don't know what to do.
Right. Right.
They're not opening their mouths to say this is not working for me. They're not opening their mouths to say this environment is killing me or creating this uncertainty. They're going to try to kill us at the table. but
Mhm.
but they're not gonna buck against this current system because of this omnipresent layer of fear that surrounds that class, the business class, right now in this environment. And It's crazy. It's crazy to even say that. I don't know that there's another time in U.S. history where that level of fear just lived across the ecosystem in this way, not just in the business community, but just across the entire country. No one wants to buck against the current environment because they're afraid.
Yeah, they're afraid people being bought off is really a shame
Yeah,
because it's more of us than them, including management.
right.
If we were all together, so you mentioned immigration, and not a lot of time left. Let me ask you this: how is Trump's immigration policy directly or indirectly affecting your union members?
Again, it depends on the sector,
Right, right.
right? We have had a few members detained, and that's the beauty and the power of the labor movement too, especially in these times. Again, crazy that I'm even saying these words, being here in the United States as an immigrant, but especially in these times, you almost have to map out where the power is and where the helpers are, because the
Mm,
traditional helpers may not be the helpers today. And so for workers right now that are connected to labor organizations, you know we are a source of hope in these times. And so for our members who have been detained, we've been able to step up and show up and provide the resources that they need to try to help them
yeah,
through their situations. Looks different for our union than it looks for others in terms of
yeah,
workers who've been impacted by the current immigration environment. Um, but we've had impacts, and we've just shown up for our members in the way that we absolutely have to as a union.
yeah. No, no, that's very important. And
Mhm.
what I want to do, that I mentioned, sir, I want to call a roll before we go, folks. These are, and I think I'm right about this, Madam President. I think I have the list accurate because it's such a long list. I have to call. Some of us call and double check with each other. Some of your colleagues, we get on the phone saying, "Hey, let's do the count. How many of us is it?"
Yeah.
These are African American presidents
Mhm.
of labor unions, which makes all the sense in the world because we have been as Black folk the backbone of labor for well over a century.
Mhm.
Um, American Postal Workers Union,
Yes.
Jonathan Simmons,
Yep. Brand new.
Milton Jones, United Food and Commercial Workers,
Mhm.
April Verrett, our good friend SCIU,
Mhm.
Lee Saunders of AFSCME, and so AFSCME and SCIU, for those of you who know, they like to compete as to which one was actually Dr. King's union, but he supported both. AFSCME was Memphis, literally.
Right. That's right.
Um, Everett Kelly, who was just on with us last week from American Federation of Government Employees, yep. Our good brother, this is a long time struggle to make this happen. It was a victory for everyone. Claude
Mm.
Cummings, president of
So.
CWA, and
Mhm.
then the largest of all the unions is NEA. That's Becky Pringle.
That's right.
Just so you know, Madam President, my family goes back with NEA 80 years. And
Wow.
so NEA, yeah, the teachers in my family, my grandparents, NEA 80 years.
Wow.
And then now you
Mhm.
of United Steelworkers. So
Right.
that's your thoughts about this historic moment, and what difference does that make in the federation in the overall collective labor table to have you all represented in that way?
I think it's 2025. That's what I
Mhm.
think.
Okay.
I think it's 2025, and I think the shift that you're seeing in leadership at that executive council table, for the AFL-CIO and just writ large, all those labor leaders who are all my friends and folks that I look up to and I value so greatly. It is just a reflection of the fact that we are in 2025, and the labor movement has changed as the
Mm,
demographics of workers in this country has changed, and we reflect that. Leadership should always reflect who is being led. Always. We should always look like the people that we represent. And for our union, I can speak for the steelworkers. It's not just me. It's not just me, but the board that is going to take over here on March 1st will be our most diverse board in our union's history, where there will be two Black people, one being me as a international president, one our current international vice president of human affairs, three women, um, uh, two. two Hispanic men. So it's
Mhm.
the change is happening across our union, and it's powerful. And I think it's really important for our members to see that our union, the leaders of this union, reflect them.
Yeah.
And listen, we got more work to do because there are other demographics that we represent that are not reflected in the leadership, and time will bring that change. But for each of us who are stepping into this moment, it is not about us alone.
Mm.
It is about what we represent, and it's about showing what is possible to our members who look like us. I better not be the last Black international president of this union,
Mm. Mm.
but
Mm.
I'm opening the door so that any other knows what is possible. And that is what this moment is about. For all of the presidents that you named, it is about making sure that we are continuing to push this movement in a way that it needs to be pushed so it is more reflective of the working people in this country. And we make sure that they know what is possible so they keep driving and they keep fighting and they keep stepping up like the way we
Yeah.
have.
Roxanne Brown, what a pleasure it has been. Let me also say, a dear friend and mentor to us both is Fred Redmond.
Yeah,
We're thinking about Fred today too, and
thank you.
lifting him up. And I'm
Thank you.
telling you something, Roxanne. One of the most validating experiences of my life, years ago now. It's been a few years. I used to for a number of years. I did nighttime drive
Mm,
on Sirius XM.
mm,
And I was in an AFL-CIO convention one year, and Leo Gerard came up to me.
mm,
He said, "Reverend Mark, I want you to know that your program is the favorite program of the steel workers, and
mm,
steel workers listen to you every night." Now, when I heard that, because I had a lot of folks on listening to me, but when I heard the real
mm-hmm.
bread and butter, get
Yeah.
your hands dirty,
Yep.
folk
Yep.
were listening to me every night. I mean, I never felt more validating. I said, I must really be doing. I thought I was doing all right before, but I said I must really be doing something. When Leo I never met Leo. He walked up and introduced himself to me.
Yeah.
And that was over 10 years ago. He said, "Man, no, you the Steel Worker Show."
Yeah.
And I didn't always program
Mm-hmm.
for the steel workers, but I was dealing with everyday folk and working class. He said, "No, this is the Steel Worker Show." So that
Mm-hmm.
meant a lot to me, and I want to pledge to you. I intend to always make myself available to be all show.
Thank you so
So
much, Reverend
whatever
Mark.
you need, on the air or off the air, you call on me, okay?
Thank you, Reverend Mark. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for having me today.
I
This was
was
a
so proud
wonderful
of you, fellow
conversation.
Howard alum. Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all, this is really great, and it's been a great day for us all to meet together on the air. Roxanne Brown. We'll be hearing more from her because we're going to continue to report on all these issues and inform the public about what's taking place. Roxanne, God bless you. Okay.
Thank you. God bless you as well. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Take care now. Good to see
Okay.
you.
Bye
All
bye.
right, folks. We've got a